Hello everyone. Wish I could be with you guys this week, but I was really excited to tell you the story of Philip and Ruth. Now I'm going to read the story today because there's a lot of really good stuff, but you guys listen closely because Miss Alicia might decide to ask you some questions afterwards. It's a really long story, so listen well. Well, after a particularly hard day, Aunt Margaret couldn't take any more of my bad behavior. I had behaved very badly in front of one of her friends, and when she had told me to say I was sorry and to apologize, I had refused. "I'm not one bit sorry. You're a mean old lady," I cried as I stomped my muddy feet. Glaring at the friend, I ran quickly out of the room. My aunt came after me, and she stood next to me, and she looked so very tired. "Ruth," she said slowly, "I'm not going to punish you because it doesn't seem to help. But I've been thinking, I don't seem to be able to manage you or bring you up as I should. I'm going to send you away to a boarding school. It is better than having you grow up as selfish and stubborn and ill-mannered as you are now." She turned away from me. I felt as if the whole world were falling down around me. "I won't go," I said. "You won't be asked," she replied. "Very well," I said with a shaky voice. "I'll run away and I won't come back." And with that, I ran straight out the door and down the road. My aunt took no notice. I often rushed off like this in a fit of temper, only this time I really meant it. I didn't stop when I reached the road, but I kept running. It did not matter where I went as long as I got away. "You're going away to a boarding school." I kept whispering the horrid words to myself. I imagined this to be a disgraceful thing. It would be like being in jail. Oh, how I would miss Philip. The evening sunlight streaked across the buttercups in the meadow, but I didn't notice anything. I didn't care where I went. I just kept trotting on. Soon the shadows of evening began to fall around me. I noticed a cemetery and a small church beside the road. This was a place where no one would find me. The church door was open, so I went up the path between rows of gravestones. One stone I stopped to read. It was a little white cross, and on it was written, "Jane Collins, age 9. Went to be with the Lord, April 5th, 1900. This made me shudder. I remembered that I was 9 and wondered if something should happen to me, if I would go to be with the Lord. I was beginning to feel ashamed of myself for being naughty. I scarcely remember entering the church. I was so tired from all my running that day. I shivered as I thought of being alone in the darkness and wondered if I would die of hunger and cold. I wondered if I would go to be with the Lord like Jane Collins. I woke up to the sound of footsteps, and then I noticed that the morning sunlight shining in the windows. I must get out of here before someone saw me. But just then I sneezed. "Come out," said a kind voice. "There's no need to hide under the seats." I crawled out slowly and saw the face of a kind young man. He must be the minister, I decided. "I couldn't help being in your church," I explained. "I came in last night when the door was open, and I only meant to rest a bit, but I fell asleep and I just now woke up." The minister looked very startled. "Come to my house for some warm food while you tell me why you were not at your home last night," he said gently, leading me to his house. On the way, I told him my story and why I had run away. He said he would call my aunt to tell me that I was all right, for she must be worried. I could have breakfast with him before I started home. We went into his study. I noticed a picture over his desk. It was a picture of a lamb lost on a rocky mountainside. Overhead hovered a fierce bird, waiting for the lamb to die, and the lamb looked up, waiting to be rescued. The shepherd had heard the cries, for he was leaning over the cliff with his crook, ready to rescue the lamb. In another minute he would pick up the lamb and take it safely home. I was so interested in the picture that I scarcely heard the minister enter the room and put down a tray of food before me. How good the food tasted! I was hungry. "Isn't that a nice picture?" I remarked. "It reminds me of a shepherd near home. One of Mr. Tandy's lambs ran away and got lost, and he went to find it. It was all tangled up in a thorn bush, and it took Mr. Tandy a long time to get it loose. His hands got all scratched and bleeding." "Ruth, why did the lamb in the picture run away? He has a nice shepherd, and the pasture's very green. Why didn't the lamb stay there?" the minister asked very kindly. "Well," I answered thoughtfully, "I expect he thought it looked nicer, and he went to see. And then he got lost and he couldn't get back." "You're right," said my new friend. "The lamb probably struggled all night to get back to the sheepfold, and then he stopped trying and started to cry. The shepherd had been searching for the lamb and waiting to hear his cry. So he gathered it in his arms and carried it back safely to the other sheep." "I ran away last night too and got lost, didn't I?" "You did," answered the minister. "And do you know, when I found you hiding in the church, I thought to myself, here's one of God's lost lambs trying to get back by herself. But you'll never be able to do it, Ruth. There's only one person who can take you back into God's way and keep you there. That is the Lord Jesus Christ, who calls himself the Good Shepherd." "Then why doesn't he do it?" I asked. "Because you're still trying to get back without him," came the answer. "You must ask him to find you because you are lost. He's been waiting a long time for you to call to him and to save you. He died on the cross to forgive you your sin and to help you to be good. You must learn to listen to his voice, and he will teach you how to be good." The kind minister gave me a little copy of the picture for my very own. "I will come back and tell you when I do it," I replied. On the way home, I kept looking at the picture. I decided to find a quiet spot before I reached home, and there to ask the Good Shepherd to find me and make me one of his lambs. I hoped he was listening. He was, for I told him of my naughtiness and asked him to forgive me, and he did. How happy I was! My aunt was waiting at the door. She had been crying. I ran to her and hugged her. "I'm sorry. I'll try to be good. Please don't send me away. I won't ever be naughty again," I cried. "My poor little girl," she whispered back. "I don't want to send you away if I possibly can help it. We'll try again. You'll have to come back next week to find out what happened next."